Daniel moved quietly down the long corridor of the space station school, his janitor uniform a little worn but clean. The hall was empty at this time of day, with only the soft hum of the ventilation system filling the silence. He carried a small bag with pencils, paper, and a few English storybooks he had brought for Lila, the alien child he had been teaching after his regular cleaning duties were done. Lila was not like the other children at the school. She was the daughter of the alien queen who controlled much of the nearby systems. Her skin shimmered with soft, glowing patterns, and her large, expressive eyes seemed to hold the wisdom of someone far older than she really was. Daniel reached the classroom and gently pushed the door open. Lila was already sitting at a small desk near the window, looking out at the stars. She turned quickly when she saw him, a bright smile spreading across her small face. "Hi, Daniel. Did you bring the new story?" she asked, her voice full of excitement. "Of course," Daniel said, setting his bag down and pulling out the storybook. "Today we will read about Earth animals. Some of them are funny and some are very clever." Lila clapped her hands softly. "I like funny ones." Daniel chuckled. "Good. Let's start with one called The Clever Fox. I think you will enjoy it." He opened the book and began reading slowly, making sure to pronounce each word clearly. Lila followed along, repeating words after him when she stumbled. Her pronunciation was not perfect, but Daniel was patient. He knew that learning a new language could be difficult, especially for someone from another planet. As he read, Daniel noticed how focused Lila was. She asked questions often, not just about the words, but about the ideas behind them. "Daniel, why does the fox trick the other animals?" she asked, tilting her head. Daniel thought for a moment. Sometimes animals in stories do clever things to survive or get what they need. The fox is not being mean, but using his brain to solve problems. Lila nodded slowly, trying to understand. "So it is smart, not bad?" "Exactly," Daniel said. "Being smart is not always about being strong. Sometimes thinking carefully is more important." After the story, Daniel handed Lila a blank sheet of paper. "Now I want you to draw the fox and the other animals. Then we will write a short sentence about each one." Lila's small hands moved quickly, her pencil creating strange but beautiful shapes. Her patterns glowed faintly under the light, showing the unique touch of her alien heritage. Daniel admired her work silently. Even in something as simple as drawing, she expressed herself in ways that humans might never think of. "Now let's write the sentences," Daniel said. He knelt beside her desk and pointed to the first drawing. "What is this animal doing?" "It is running," Lila said confidently. "The fox is running fast. Good, can you write that down?" Daniel asked, showing her how to form the letters carefully. Lila copied each word slowly, her small tongue sticking out in concentration. Daniel smiled. "Very good, Lila. You are learning so quickly." The lesson continued with laughter and small moments of wonder. Lila asked Daniel about Earth animals, the stars, and even the humans who lived there. Daniel answered patiently, telling stories of simple Earth life, about children playing in parks, animals running in forests, and people helping one another. "Do humans have schools like this?" Lila asked, her eyes wide. "Yes," Daniel said.
"We have many schools."
"Children learn reading, writing, and how to live together. We also learn about other places and cultures, just like you are learning from me." Lila's face lit up. "I like learning from you, Daniel. You make it fun." Daniel felt a warmth in his chest. He had never been a teacher, but somehow, teaching Lila felt right. Her curiosity reminded him of his own child back on Earth, and he often thought about how different their lives were, yet how similar in small, meaningful ways. The classroom door opened slightly, letting in a shaft of the station's soft artificial light. Daniel looked up briefly, but no one entered. He returned to Lila, who was now attempting to write a small story about the fox using the sentences they had created together. Her sentences were simple, but each word showed her effort and growing understanding. As she finished, she looked up at Daniel and beamed. "I did it. Daniel, I wrote a story." "I see that," Daniel said with genuine admiration. "You wrote a great story, Lila. You are very talented." Lila hugged the book to her chest. "Thank you, Daniel. Will you read another story tomorrow?" "Of course," Daniel said. "We have many more stories to explore." They spent the next hour exploring more words and sentences, laughing when Lila tried to invent her own words. Daniel encouraged her creativity, knowing that language was more than rules. It was a way to express ideas and feelings. The station outside hummed with quiet activity. Robots moved along corridors, cleaning and maintaining systems. Alien staff walked past occasionally, but none entered the classroom. In this small space, Daniel and Lila created a world of learning and imagination, a bubble of understanding between two very different beings. As the lesson ended, Daniel packed up the books and pencils. Lila looked at him expectantly. "Will you come with me to the garden? I want to show you my favorite plants." Daniel nodded. "Sure, let's go see them." Together, they walked to the small indoor garden of the station. Strange alien plants of bright colors swayed gently in the artificial light. Lila ran ahead, pointing out each one with excitement. Daniel followed, smiling, listening to her explanations. "This one glows at night," Lila said, "and this one tastes sweet. But humans cannot eat it." Daniel crouched down to examine a plant. "It is beautiful. You have a good eye for nature, Lila." Lila giggled. "Thank you. I like sharing it with you." They spent time in the garden enjoying the calm and quiet, the stars visible through the large windows. Daniel felt at peace here, far from the usual cleaning tasks and responsibilities. He realized that even a small connection like this could bridge worlds. As the light of the station dimmed to signal the end of the day, Daniel walked Lila back to the classroom. "You did very well today," he said. "I am proud of you." Lila hugged him tightly. "I like learning with you, Daniel. You are my friend," Daniel's heart warmed. "And you are my student, Lila. And maybe my little teacher, too. You remind me that learning never ends." With that, he waved goodbye and began his janitor duties, quietly moving through the empty halls. As he mopped and tidied, he thought about Lila, about the stories they had read, and about the small but meaningful bond they shared. For Daniel, teaching Lila was more than just lessons. It was a reminder of what it meant to connect, to care, and to learn from one another, no matter how different they were. In the quiet of the school, the janitor and the alien child had created something rare, a bridge between worlds, built on patience, kindness, and curiosity, and Daniel knew that tomorrow they would continue building it together. The next morning, Daniel arrived at the classroom carrying his bag with pencils, papers, and a few storybooks. The corridors of the space station were busier now. Aliens of many shapes and sizes moved about, some heading to lessons, others to their work. Daniel kept his pace steady, greeting a few familiar faces as he passed, but most ignored him. He was just the janitor, and no one expected him to do much beyond cleaning floors and emptying trash. When he reached the classroom, Lila was already sitting at her desk, her small fingers drumming on the tabletop impatiently. She looked up and saw Daniel. "Daniel!" "I am ready for today's lesson," she said eagerly. Her large, glowing eyes sparkled with excitement. Daniel smiled, setting his bag down and pulling out the books. "Good morning, Lila. Today we will learn about some new words and try a fun activity after." Before he could begin, the door slid open slowly. Daniel glanced up, expecting another student or teacher, but he froze when he saw the alien queen standing there. Her presence filled the room. She was taller than any alien Daniel had seen, with skin that shimmered faintly in colors he could not name. Her eyes were sharp and curious, watching Daniel and Lila carefully. "Good morning," Daniel said cautiously, standing straight. "I did not expect visitors." The queen's gaze softened slightly when it fell on Lila. "I came to see how my daughter is learning," she said, her voice calm but strong. Lila turned to her mother, her eyes wide. "Mother, Daniel is teaching me English."
"I am learning a lot."
The queen looked at Daniel, studying him. "A human teaching my daughter? Explain why this is acceptable." Daniel swallowed but kept his voice even. "Your daughter wanted to learn a new language. I help her understand it in simple ways with stories, games, and examples. I am careful and I treat her with respect." The queen raised one brow but did not speak further. She simply watched as Daniel guided Lila to start the lesson. He pulled out a book about Earth and its seasons. He began to read slowly, showing pictures of forests, rivers, and animals. Lila followed closely, repeating words after him. The queen observed quietly, occasionally asking Lila to translate a word or explain a sentence. Lila responded confidently, and the queen seemed intrigued. She had expected chaos or confusion, but the child was learning well, and Daniel was patient, calm, and kind. After some time, Daniel suggested a new activity. "Lila, let's try making sentences using the pictures in this book. You can tell me a story about what is happening." Lila nodded eagerly. She chose a picture of a fox and a rabbit. The fox is fast. The rabbit is smart, she said. Very good, Daniel said. Can you make a story with these words? Lila thought for a moment. The fox runs. The rabbit hides. Then the fox learns a lesson. Daniel smiled. Excellent. You made a story all by yourself. Stories help us think and understand the world. The Queen spoke for the first time in a while. He encourages creativity. This is good. Too many tutors only follow rules and forget imagination. Daniel felt a small relief. He continued teaching, introducing new words, simple grammar, and short sentences. Lila asked questions often, and Daniel answered carefully, never rushing, never assuming she would not understand. After an hour, Daniel suggested a small writing task. Write about the pictures. Use the words you know. Make your own sentences. Lila eagerly wrote her sentences, her glowing patterns flickering lightly as she concentrated. Daniel walked around the room helping with spelling and pronunciation, making corrections gently. The Queen watched every moment, occasionally nodding or tilting her head. Daniel noticed her expression change from suspicion to curiosity, then slowly to quiet approval. She had not expected a human to treat her daughter with such patience and respect. When Lila finished writing, she read her sentences aloud. The fox wanted food. The rabbit hid. The fox learned to be clever. Daniel smiled widely. That is perfect, Lila. You made a story and learned new words. Well done. Lila clapped her small hands, proud of her achievement. She looked at her mother, hoping for approval. The Queen remained quiet for a moment, then spoke softly. You are learning quickly. I am impressed. Lila beamed and turned to Daniel. Daniel, did you hear that? She is proud of me. Daniel chuckled. Yes, Lila, you did a great job. After the lesson, Daniel suggested a small walk in the station's indoor garden. Lila ran ahead, showing her favorite plants. The Queen followed silently, her curiosity still piqued. Daniel walked behind them, quietly talking about earth plants, sunlight, and simple ideas of nature. Humans care for plants like this? Lila asked. Yes, Daniel said. We plant them, water them, and watch them grow. It is a way to learn patience and see beauty in life. The Queen remained quiet but watched Daniel carefully. She seemed to be learning about humans herself, seeing them in a way she had not before. They returned to the classroom when the light signaled the end of the learning session. Daniel packed his things, but before leaving, the Queen spoke. Your teaching is unusual for humans. You are patient and honest. I will allow you to continue with my daughter, but I will observe often. Daniel bowed slightly. Thank you, Your Majesty. I will do my best. Lila hugged Daniel tightly. I like learning with you. I feel happy. Daniel smiled, feeling a deep sense of pride and purpose. He waved goodbye and began his janitor duties, moving through the quiet corridors with a new sense of confidence. He realized that today was more than a lesson for Lila. It was a bridge between two worlds. The alien Queen had witnessed the kindness and patience of a human, and Daniel felt that small acts like these could change perceptions, one child at a time. As he cleaned the classrooms and hallways, Daniel thought about Lila, the Queen, and the small lessons that mattered most. Teaching was no longer just about language. It was about understanding, connection, and respect. Tomorrow, he knew, would bring more lessons, more questions, and perhaps more surprises. But he was ready. He had learned that even in simple words and stories, humans could leave an impact far beyond what anyone expected. The following day, Daniel arrived early at the school. He carried his usual bag filled with storybooks, pencils, and paper. The corridors were quieter than usual. Most students had not yet arrived, and the air smelled faintly of cleaned floors and the station's artificial light. Daniel walked to Lila's classroom, quietly pushing open the door. Lila was already at her desk, sitting with perfect posture, waiting for him. Her glowing patterns flickered softly with excitement as she looked up. Daniel, today I want to learn about animals again, she said, bouncing slightly in her chair. Daniel smiled. All right, Lila. Today we will learn some new words and talk about how animals live in the wild. As he placed the books on her desk, the classroom door opened again. This time the Queen stepped in without warning. Her tall form filled the doorway, her eyes sharp and curious. She looked around before fixing her gaze on Daniel. Good morning, Daniel said, standing politely. I did not expect you to come in so early. The Queen's voice was calm but strong. I want to see today's lesson. I want to understand how my daughter learns. Lila smiled, proud to have her mother watching. Mother, Daniel teaches me many things. He makes learning fun. The Queen looked at Daniel carefully. Explain why a human should teach my daughter. Daniel met her eyes and spoke calmly. She wants to learn. I help her by using stories, pictures, and examples. I guide her with patience and respect. I do not force anything, and I answer her questions honestly. The Queen said nothing further but walked to the side of the room. Daniel began the lesson, opening a book with pictures of different animals. He pointed to a lion and said slowly, "This is a lion. Lions live in the wild. They hunt for food." Lila repeated after him, "Lion lives in the wild, hunts for food." The Queen watched carefully, her eyes narrowing slightly as she listened. She was testing Daniel, expecting him to fail or give wrong answers, but he remained calm, patient, and respectful. She noticed that he was not afraid but also not arrogant. After a few more animals, Daniel suggested a game. Lila, let's play a game. You will choose an animal and I will ask questions about it. Then you can ask questions too. Lila's eyes lit up. Yes, let's start with the rabbit. Daniel nodded. What does the rabbit eat? Vegetables and plants, Lila said quickly. Good, where does the rabbit live? In the grass and bushes, she said confidently. The Queen spoke softly, almost to herself. He asked questions that help her think. This is unusual for humans. Most teach only rules, not thinking. The game continued. Lila asked about a lion, a fox, and even a small bird. Daniel answered each question with patience, giving simple explanations. Lila smiled, clearly enjoying the challenge, and the Queen observed quietly, learning something about humans she had not expected. After the game, Daniel pulled out paper and pencils. Now we will draw our favorite animals and write a sentence about them, he said. Lila began to draw a rabbit and a fox, her glowing patterns brightening as she concentrated. Daniel walked around, helping her with spelling and sentence formation. He corrected gently, never making her feel wrong or embarrassed. The Queen watched silently, but she was fascinated. She had not expected a human to teach with such patience and creativity. She realized that Daniel treated Lila as more than a student. He respected her as an individual. When Lila finished drawing and writing, she read her sentences aloud. The rabbit eats plants. The fox is clever. The lion hunts in the wild, Daniel smiled. Excellent, Lila. You wrote clear sentences and told a story with your drawings. Well done. The Queen stepped closer, her voice softer now. He encourages imagination. He teaches more than words. This is acceptable. Lila clapped her hands, proud to hear her mother approve. Did you hear that, Daniel? She likes our lesson. Daniel chuckled. Yes, Lila. You did very well today. After the classroom activities, Daniel suggested a short walk in the station's garden. Lila ran ahead, pointing out her favorite plants and flowers. The Queen followed, silent but attentive. Daniel walked behind, explaining small things about earth plants and how humans take care of them. Lila asked many questions. Daniel, do humans talk to plants? Daniel laughed softly. Some do. We believe it helps them grow stronger, and it makes us notice small things in life. The Queen's expression softened as she watched Daniel interact with Lila. She realized that humans had a quiet strength, a patience that could not be measured in power or rank. They returned to the classroom when the session ended. Daniel packed his books and pencils. The Queen spoke as they prepared to leave. Continue your lessons with her. I will watch sometimes, but I trust your methods so far. Daniel bowed slightly. Thank you, Your Majesty. I will continue to teach her with care. Lila hugged Daniel. I like learning with you. You make it fun and easy. Daniel smiled, feeling proud. And you are learning so well, Lila. Keep asking questions and exploring. That is the best way to learn. As he walked through the quiet corridors, mopping and cleaning, Daniel thought about the lessons they had done and the bond he was building with Lila and even the Queen. Teaching had become more than words. It was a way to connect, to show care, and to bridge the gap between worlds. Tomorrow, he knew, would bring more stories, more games, and perhaps new surprises. But he was ready to meet them all with patience and respect. He understood that even a human janitor could leave a lasting impression in a galaxy full of powerful beings. The following morning, Daniel arrived at the classroom with his usual bag of storybooks, pencils, and paper. The corridors of the space station were quiet, with only the hum of machines and the occasional passing alien filling the air. Daniel walked steadily, greeting a few familiar faces along the way. He was the janitor, but today felt different. Today he could sense that something new was about to happen. When he reached the classroom, Lila was already at her desk. Her patterns glowed softly, showing excitement and curiosity. "Daniel, today I want to learn about animals that fly," she said eagerly. Daniel smiled. "All right, Lila. We will learn about birds and other creatures that can fly. Some are fast, some are clever, and some have bright colors." Before he could begin, the door opened again. The alien queen stepped into the room, her tall and imposing presence immediately noticed. She did not speak at first, just watched. Daniel could feel her eyes on him, analyzing every movement, every word he would say. "Good morning," Daniel said politely, standing straight. "I see you are here to observe." The queen's voice was calm but firm. "I want to see your methods and how my daughter is learning." Lila turned to her mother, her eyes shining. "Mother, Daniel teaches me many things. Today we will learn about flying animals." The queen observed silently, her gaze fixed on Daniel as he opened the book and began the lesson. He pointed to a picture of an eagle. "This is an eagle. Eagles are strong and fly high. They can see far distances," Lila repeated after him. "Eagle, strong, flies high, sees far." The queen's expression softened slightly. She seemed surprised by Daniel's calm and patient teaching. She had expected confusion or failure, but Daniel was steady, clear, and respectful. Daniel continued with more animals: a hummingbird, a bat, and a butterfly. He explained their abilities in simple words and encouraged Lila to ask questions. "Why does the bat sleep in a cave?" Lila asked, tilting her head. Daniel thought for a moment. "The bat sleeps in a cave to stay safe. It hunts at night because it can see and hear better then." Lila nodded slowly, her glowing patterns flickering as she processed the information. "So, each animal is different. They do what is best for them." "Exactly," Daniel said, "and learning about them helps us understand life and nature." The queen stepped closer, intrigued. He uses simple explanations, yet she understands. This is unusual for humans. Most only teach by rules, not understanding. Daniel suggested a small activity. "Lila, let's draw our favorite flying animals and write one sentence about each. You can describe what makes them special." Lila picked a hummingbird and an eagle. Her small hands moved quickly, drawing shapes and lines that glowed faintly. Daniel walked around, helping with spelling and sentence formation. He corrected gently, showing her the correct way without making her feel wrong. The queen watched quietly, slowly realizing that Daniel's patience and care were teaching more than words. He was teaching understanding, observation, and curiosity. Lila's confidence grew with each word and sentence, and the queen noticed how the child smiled, laughed, and shared her thoughts freely. When Lila finished, she read her sentences aloud. "The eagle is strong and sees far. The hummingbird is fast and drinks sweet juice." Daniel smiled. "Excellent, Lila. You learned new words and explained them well." "Very good," the queen spoke softly. "You do not only teach language, you teach thought and attention. This is unusual for a human." Lila clapped her hands, proud of her achievement. "Did you hear that, Daniel?" "She is impressed." Daniel chuckled. "Yes, Lila, you did very well." After the classroom activities, Daniel suggested a walk in the indoor garden. Lila ran ahead, pointing out plants that moved slightly or glowed softly. The queen followed silently, watching carefully. Daniel explained simple things about earth plants and how humans interact with them. Lila asked many questions. "Daniel, do humans listen to plants?" Daniel smiled. "Some do. It helps them notice small details and teaches patience. We see beauty and life in small things." The queen seemed to observe more than just the plants. She watched Daniel's interactions, noticing how he respected Lila, answered questions, and encouraged curiosity. She began to understand that humans could teach and influence without force or power. They returned to the classroom when the learning session ended. Daniel packed his things carefully. The queen spoke as they prepared to leave. "Continue teaching my daughter. I will observe often, but I trust your methods." Daniel bowed slightly. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will continue to teach with care and patience." Lila hugged Daniel tightly. "I like learning with you. You make it fun and easy." Daniel smiled, feeling proud. "And you are learning very well, Lila. Keep asking questions and exploring. That is the best way to learn." As Daniel moved through the quiet corridors, mopping and cleaning, he thought about the lessons, Lila's excitement, and the queen's unexpected approval. Teaching was no longer just about language. It was about understanding, respect, and connecting. He realized that small acts of patience and kindness could leave a lasting impression, even with beings far more powerful than himself. Tomorrow would bring new lessons, more questions, and perhaps new challenges. But Daniel was ready. He understood that through care, attention, and simple human patience, he could make a difference in a galaxy full of possibilities and wonder. The next morning, Daniel arrived at the classroom earlier than usual. His bag was filled with storybooks, pencils, and paper, ready for another day of teaching. The space station corridors were quiet, the hum of machines and occasional footsteps the only sound. Daniel walked steadily, his mind focused on the lesson and the progress Lila had made. Today felt different. There was a sense of anticipation in the air. When he entered the classroom, Lila was already seated, her glowing patterns flickering with excitement. "Daniel, today I want to learn more words and tell a story all by myself," she said eagerly. Daniel smiled. "All right, Lila. We will learn new words and then you can make your own story. Remember, it can be about anything you like." Before he could start, the classroom door slid open and the Queen entered. Her tall presence filled the room and her eyes watched Daniel carefully. This time there was no challenge in her gaze, only quiet curiosity. "Good morning," Daniel said politely. "I see you are here again to observe." The Queen's voice was calm. "I wish to see her learning today. I want to understand the full impact of your teaching." Lila turned to her mother, smiling brightly. "Mother, Daniel helps me learn many new words. Today, I will tell a story." Daniel began the lesson with simple words about nature, animals, and human life on Earth. He used pictures and short sentences, encouraging Lila to repeat after him. Lila was focused, asking questions often, and Daniel answered each one carefully. After introducing the words, Daniel said, "Now, Lila, try to make a story using the new words. You can draw pictures if it helps you." Lila's eyes lit up. She took a sheet of paper and began drawing, her glowing patterns bright as she worked. Daniel walked around the room, guiding her gently. "Remember to think about what happens first, next, and last," he advised. The Queen observed silently, noticing how Daniel interacted with Lila. He did not scold, demand, or rush her. He simply guided, encouraged, and praised her efforts. The Queen had never seen a human teach in such a patient and understanding way. Lila finished her drawings and began telling her story. The fox wanted to play. The rabbit watched. The eagle flew high. The fox learned to be careful. The rabbit was happy. Daniel smiled widely. "That is a wonderful story, Lila. You used many words, made a story with a beginning, middle, and end." "Very good." The Queen stepped forward and spoke softly. "He teaches more than words. He teaches thinking and understanding. I am impressed." Lila clapped her hands, proud of both her story and her mother's approval. "Did you hear that, Daniel? She is proud of my story." Daniel chuckled. "Yes, Lila, you did very well." After the lesson, Daniel suggested a walk in the indoor garden. Lila ran ahead, pointing out flowers and plants that moved or glowed softly. The Queen followed silently, observing carefully. Daniel explained small things about Earth plants and how humans take care of them. Lila asked many questions. "Daniel, do humans talk to plants?" Daniel smiled. "Some do. It helps them notice small details and teaches patience. We see beauty and life in small things." The Queen watched carefully. She was learning more about humans than she had expected. They were not just workers or servants. They had patience, kindness, and a unique way of connecting with others. Daniel had shown her that teaching, understanding, and care could leave a lasting impact. When they returned to the classroom, Daniel began tidying up his materials. The Queen spoke. "Continue teaching my daughter. I will observe often, but I trust your methods now." Daniel bowed slightly. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will continue with care and patience." Lila hugged Daniel tightly. "I like learning with you. You make it fun and easy." Daniel smiled, feeling proud. "And you are learning very well, Lila. Keep asking questions and exploring. That is the best way to learn." As Daniel moved through the quiet corridors, mopping and cleaning, he reflected on the lessons, Lila's excitement, and the Queen's approval. He realized that teaching was not only about words, it was about understanding, respect, and creating connections. Even a human janitor could make a difference, even in a galaxy filled with powerful beings. He thought about the small moments that mattered. A smile, A question, a corrected sentence, a story told from the heart. He knew that these simple actions could bridge worlds and create trust, understanding, and respect. Daniel understood that tomorrow would bring more lessons, more stories, and perhaps new surprises. But he was ready. He had learned that patience, kindness, and simple human care could leave an impact far beyond what anyone expected. He had discovered that even small acts of teaching and understanding could change perceptions, inspire trust, and build lasting bonds across worlds. The story of a human janitor and an alien child had begun quietly in a small classroom. It would continue, growing in meaning and importance, and Daniel knew that through small, thoughtful actions, he could continue to shape a future where humans and aliens could understand, respect, and connect with each other in ways that power and rank could never achieve.